In this video, we'll be talking about the number one myth regarding depression that I commonly hear as a psychologist. By the end of this video, you'll understand why that myth is misleading and how to avoid it in your own life. My name is Dr. Park. I'm a psychologist for youth, and here at Through the Waters, we nurture your mental health. Let's cut right to the chase here. The number one myth that I hear about depression as a psychologist is that depression is just a chemical imbalance in our brain. Now, the difficulty with this myth is that it is half true. Depression definitely does involve our brain, including the chemical messengers in our brain called neurotransmitters. Examples include serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. However, to say that depression is just a chemical imbalance in our brain is an oversimplification. Our brain chemistry is a biological aspect of our being, and it's a powerful aspect of our being, but depression can arise from causes across the biological, psychological, social, cultural, and spiritual dimensions of our lives. For most people, it's actually a combination of factors across those different dimensions that will give rise to depression. The person who finds one root cause for their depression is the exception rather than the rule. For most people, it's a combination of factors. I think another reason it's misleading to say that depression is just a chemical imbalance in the brain is that people can hear that and then easily jump to the conclusion that therefore their healing has to come from medication or something else that's biological. I've seen medication be life-changing for people. I've seen other people kind of go through a trial and error process. I've seen other people feel like medication didn't help them. So I'm always wanting people to know that medication is an option on the table in terms of healing. Medication can shift the balance of chemicals in our brain, and it can also promote the growth of new neurons in our brain, which is called neurogenesis. So it's a really important option to consider medication. However, the chemical messengers or neurotransmitters in our brain, and even the neurons in our brain and the structures of our brain can also be changed in other ways aside from medication. Changing our actions or behavior, changing our relationships, changing our nutrition or our exercise habits, changing our environment, participating in therapy. All of these can also change our brains. So it's an oversimplification to say that depression is just a chemical imbalance in our brains, and it's also an oversimplified conclusion to say that medication is the only way for people to experience healing from depression. It would probably be more fair to say that neurotransmitters are usually involved in depression, and medication is one of many treatment options available for healing. So I hope that helps debunk this very popular myth, and I also want to add some cautions here about how we care for ourselves and other people in light of this myth busting. Before I share these, by the way, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons if you're finding value in this video. That way you will know when we release future mental health education, and also YouTube will be more likely to share this video for people who could benefit from it. And sadly, I'm guessing that there are many people out there who need to hear more about depression. Okay, so caution number one, if you are currently taking medication, please make 0 changes to your medication based on this video. Please only make changes that affect your health after having a conversation with your healthcare providers, including the provider who prescribed your medication. Secondly, please do not send this video to someone who is taking medication in an attempt to discourage them from taking it. That's definitely not my point here. And you can see point 1 as well. So thirdly, let's take a personalized view of health and wholeness, meaning that what works for one person does not necessarily work for another person. A particular antidepressant might be life-changing for a certain person, and it might cause a whole host of negative side effects for someone else. We are all different, and thankfully there's a whole universe of options in terms of what we can avail ourselves for in terms of healing. So, that's my myth busting for today. I'll share some relevant resources in the description below in case you're someone who would like to do a deeper dive into the various causes of depression. And by the way, when you read those sources, you might notice the word etiology. Etiology is just a fancy clinical word for cause or causes. I'll also provide a link below for a free download of coping tools so you get started with some basic mental health tools if you need them. Just pick one and try it out. Keep it simple. Last but certainly not least, if you'd like to share your thoughts on this idea of depression just being a chemical imbalance in the brain, feel free to comment below.